internal combustion engines automobiles will no longer be for sale after 2030, that type of certainty, or the certainty of a carbon price pass that's legislated as in Canada. That's the type of certainty that entrepreneurs can then bring forward and invest today. That helps solve the tragedy of the horizon. We need more of that, and we need it now.
Let's be honest, Justin Trudeau made all the promises, but Mark Carney has been calling the shots for a very long time. Canada is the globalist banker's blueprint for command and control. And Canadians, well, we're left paying the price. The numbers are in thanks to a Leger poll commissioned by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. 60% of Canadians with a clear opinion oppose the Liberal mandate to ban gas and diesel vehicles. They don't want it, they don't need it, and they certainly haven't been asking for billions of taxpayer dollars to subsidize a transition that doesn't work in a country where winter lasts 6 months at least and distances span thousands of kilometers. But Mark Carney, well, he's full steam ahead and has been for a very long time. Look at this.
At a euro figure relative to the overall spend. And once you put in place the sort of shadow prices, so in other words, regulation on hydrogen fuel blends, phasing out internal combustion engines, expectations of floors on carbon prices, all the things that Janet Yellen and I were kind of alluding to in this report, the sort of future path of policy, it is a much higher proportion of the actual spends.
Our prime minister is the man who told the Council on Foreign Relations that we need shadow prices, i.e. government-enforced costs on traditional fuel, to drive his green economy agenda. And then at INSAID, the World Economic Forum's MBA factory, he bragged about how banning gas-powered cars by 2030 would spur investment. Here.
In other words, not all the policies need to be there today, but you need to have a sense of the roadmap of policy in the future. And policies such as in the European Union, or a number of countries in the European Union, where internal combustion engines automobiles will no longer be for sale after 2030, that type of certainty, or the certainty of a carbon price pass that's legislated as in Canada, that's the type of certainty that entrepreneurs can then bring forward and invest today. That helps solve the tragedy of the horizon. We need more of that, and we need it now.
That's the playbook. Create artificial scarcity, pour in public money, and then hope no one asks why Tesla, an American company, is raking in profits while Canadian farmers are getting crushed. Because here's what Carney's Green Crusade has already cost us. $52 billion in EV handouts, and even the CBC admits that it didn't pay off. Northvolt, a European battery darling, propped up by your tax dollars, just went bankrupt. In Sweden, and China slapped 100% tariffs on Canadian canola and other agricultural and fishery produce in retaliation for Canada's protectionist EV tariffs. That's a direct hit to Western farmers, just so Carney can keep his fantasy alive in Windsor and St. Thomas. And the Liberals, well, they're in too far to turn back now. They've bet your future on a plan most Canadians oppose. Even the auto industry is waving the white flag. Brian Kingston from the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association said forcing EV sales right now is, quote, putting the puck in our own net. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is promising to scrap what he rightly calls the Carney tax, a $20,000 penalty per gas-powered car.
Here we go again. Mark Carney's Liberals are slapping Canadians with yet another sneaky new tax. I call it the Carney tax. It's a $20,000 tax on gas-powered cars designed to force everyone to drive an electric vehicle. Here's how it works. Step 1, starting in 2026. Next year, the Liberals will limit the number of gas-powered cars that can be sold. Step 2, any manufacturer who dares sell more than the Liberal quota will be hit with a $20,000 tax per vehicle, a tax that will be passed directly on to you, the buyer. Step 3. By 2035, the Carney-Trudeau Liberals will go even further, banning gas-powered cars completely. Listen to Mr. Carney describe it himself.
If you're building a track record in terms of, let's say, the auto sector, like the Europeans and Germans and others saying, okay, no new internal combustion engine vehicles by 2030 and supported policies around that.
This Carney tax is an assault on Canadian workers and families. It will skyrocket car prices, shut down manufacturing plants in Oshawa and Windsor, and send thousands of good Canadian jobs to the United States, just like Trump wanted.
Poilievre said he'll tear up the mandate, cut GST on Canadian-made vehicles, and let families decide for themselves what to drive. Gas, hybrid, electric. Here's the thing. You get to pick, not the Liberals, not the World Economic Forum, certainly not Mark Carney. This is no longer about climate policy. It's about control. It's about central Canada dictating how the rest of us live, work, and farm, backed by a currently unelected, unaccountable, globally groomed bankster with an ego the size of his bank account. Canadians are saying no, and it's time Carney listened. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. To see more of our coverage during this monumentous election campaign, one that I think will decide the future of Canadian Confederation, and to support our independent journalism, please go to campaign2025.com.